What's up, you guys? We have been working from the mounted position for a while now, and now we're into the guard position. And we study the mount, in all phases, from defend, escape, submit, control. It was great. So we'll never forget the mount stuff, but we're gonna move into guard in the coming weeks. But before we did that, since it's been a while since I made a video and I got John here, I thought I'd show at least some of the stuff that we work from the mount. So if you will go down to the mount position, we'll talk about from the top. Now, on one of the sessions, we talked about controlling the mount, getting that low neck hug, and then working isolations of the wrist. Isolating the wrist here, this isolation principle, is really good because this begins to set up a series of attacks on the bottom person, right, with that wrist isolation. We talked about different ways to isolate the wrist that you guys can play with, but the bottom line is let's talk about once we isolate the wrist. Now, there's a couple of predictable behavior patterns from the person on the bottom. One thing they might try to do is bring that other hand to like push my hand off and try to help out with that wrist that's been isolated. So let's say I get here, boom, I isolate the wrist and that hand comes to push it off. Go ahead, push it, boom, yes, right? So we do that again, rewind. When he goes to free that hand, if I take that, feed it, come up, I can set up all of our options that we know from the gift wrap. So one more time, I want you guys to see that. So basically, we're pinning the wrist here. I can set up a series of attacks that we worked on. We worked on mounted triangles, arm locks, key locks, all sorts of things from here. But as his arm comes through, if I take that and I switch gears, I don't really care which arm I isolate. I don't even care which attack that I do, as long as I attack one of them, right? I want to take the one he's giving me. So then I feed here, come around, boom, and we set up. So that's one option I want you guys to remember, is that when they use the other arm, use it against them, right? Now, the other thing I want to talk about, which is another problem that people run into, is sometimes when you isolate the arm here, one of the next natural progressions is to bring the arm in close, set up submissions that you can do, and go from there. But the problem is, if they're stronger or they're very intent to not allow you to bring that arm in, you may run into a problem that you need to figure out. So, I believe we talked about it in the class, but if not, we're talking about it now. What you could do from that situation here is, instead of fighting them where they're strong, change the angle to here. All right, now what this does is a couple of things. Number one, you don't like this that much, do you? He doesn't like this. It violates kind of the principles of jiu-jitsu. Plus, it's like, nobody really wants their head and arm up like in this position, okay? So generally, most times what happens is, for me, he'll pull his arm back down and look, we're set up and we can start to do all the submissions and stuff that we worked on. But even if he doesn't, we can set up, boom, a whole nother series of dilemmas for them. So when we're here and we isolate the elbow here, the arm here, if he goes and fights for it, use that against him. If he doesn't, instead of fighting where he's strong, take this north and see what happens. Most times, don't you agree, John? Mm-hmm. They're gonna pull that arm down, boom, we can set up and start to isolate and attack from there. All right, so you guys, the mount position was so much fun. You're still gonna see it a lot, but now we're gonna explore the guard. This week we're gonna do all of guard sweeps and have fun from there. So it's been a while since I made a video, and I want to get on. You got anything for him?
Looks good. Ready for this week.
Let's do it, guys.